All right, good evening. Welcome back. We're looking at trigonometry. We are looking at problem number 5. We'll see if we can't get through all three of these. So we have a sector area. We have a specialty pizza slice has an area of 38 inches squared with a radius of 7 inches. Determine the central angle of the slice in radians. Round your answer to two decimal places. Beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and have a look at this. So we're looking at sector area. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. So we have to know that sector area, okay, is the area of a portion of a circle. So if I remember, like the area of a circle is pi r squared, okay, and that's like, well, that's kind of helpful. What's the pi coming from? The pi is actually like how many revolutions around a circle are, what angle are we for a whole circle? And it's 2 pi would be my theta, so it's 2 pi r squared. But I don't really want 2 pi because that's not going to match up quite right there. So if I will do a 1/2, so my x, that'll cancel, the twos will cancel, and we'll actually end up with a pi r squared. So I think my area for a sector is equal to 1/2 theta r squared, where theta is, of course, in radians. Okay, so that's the first formula you got to remember. I don't really remember that. I just kind of remember what the area of a circle is. I just kind of back into it from where that is. All right. So, okay, the first one, it says, okay, we have a specialty pizza slices an area of 38 inches squared. So let's go ahead and say my area is equal to 38. Okay, what other things do we have to do with this thing? Radius was equal to 7. So r is equal to 7. And then we have to figure out what the theta is. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and start plugging some things in. So I'm going to say that we have 38 equals 1/2 theta times 7 squared. And we want to know what theta is. Okay, so let's go ahead and start solving for theta. So the first thing to do is to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that 1/2. So we're going to say, okay, that's going to be 35, 2, and that's 75. So 38 is going to be, well, I'm going to be lazy. We're just going to say 38 times 2. Okay, so it's going to be 60. Okay, it's going to be 76, I believe. So I'm going to say times 2. Look at that, 76. I didn't need a calculator after all. So we have 76. And that got me rid of my one, that got rid of my 1/2 equals theta times 7 squared. Let's go ahead and divide both sides by 7 squared. So we're going to say theta is equal to 76 over 49. And that's going to go ahead and do my theta. Right? So let's say we have 76 divided by 49. Right? And that's going to be my theta. And that's 1.55. So my theta in radians is 1.55. What did they ask me for? Like how many decimal places do they want to know? I think it's 2 decimal places, and we can go ahead and look at that. Uh-huh. 2 decimal places. So that's really all of that really is. If we really wanted to put it in terms of pies, what I would do is go ahead and say divided by pi. Okay, equals. So that's going to be, it's about, okay, so this is like 0.49 pi, where this is actually pretty close to pi over 2, right? 0.49 is really close to zero point 0.5. That's like as far as looking at a pizza slice goes, like it's a pretty hefty pizza slice for somebody. They didn't ask you for that, but that would be my answer would be theta would be 1.55. Okay. But, being and having an interest in pizza, you don't build my physique like mine by not having an interest in pizza. So that's what we do. But I wanted to know how big was this slice of pizza. Okay. Okay, we have an irrigation sprinklers waters a circular field with a radius of 15 meters. If the sprinkler sweeps over an area of 120 degrees, what area of the field is watered? All right, so we can go ahead and take a look at that. So we know that the radius, this is the second part, r is equal to 15. My theta is equal to 120 degrees, but my area equals 1/2 theta r squared. Now, it's important to remember that theta has to be in terms of radians. So we're going to take our 120 degrees. We're going to say, okay, that looks like it looks like we have a pi over 180 going back from a couple of few problems ago. Okay, so that's going to cancel some tens here. So we've got 2 times 6. That's a fancy way to write 12 is 2 times 6 times pi. And then 180 is going to be 3 times 6. Let's cancel that. So this is going to be 2 pi over 3 radians. Okay, as my angle. All right, in order to figure out the total area that we are looking for here, because I think that's what they're asking, what area of the field is watered? Yeah, they want to know the area. So we can go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so we're going to say we have A equals, what are we doing here? We are doing 1/2 theta, so 2 over 3 times pi. That's my theta. And then we are told that the radius is actually equal to 15, so we're going to have 15 squared sitting here. And we'll go ahead and calculate this thing out. So we've got the 2's will cancel. So we've got pi over 3 times 5 times 3 times 5. That's 15 squared. This will cancel. So we've got 25 times 3. We've got 75 pi square unit. What is this, meters? I think this was meters. So go ahead and take a look at that. Uh, 15 meters. So if this is 75 square meters, so 75 meters squared. Again, I think they asked for, I think this was the 2 decimal places for all the problems here. So we'll go ahead and do that. It would say on your exam, so it'll say. So we're going to say that we want 75 times pi. Okay. And then we'll say that's 235.6 meters squared, and that would be our answer for that. All right? And that's how you do a problem like that. Okay, let's see. Next problem here. We have a security camera is mounted at the center of a circular courtyard. If the camera sweeps an angle of 120 degrees and covers an area of 94.2 meters squared, how about not with the angle? I have to change this. This would be like, what's the radius of the courtyard that we're dealing with? So it would be something like that. So let's go ahead and fix that. It's like, what's the radius that we're dealing with here? So we'll go ahead and look at that. So um, we are told that the area is 94.2. Okay. So we have 94.2. That's my area is equal to 1/2 theta r squared. We know what the theta is. Theta was equal to 2 pi over 3 from the last problem, right? That was 120 degrees. And we're probably going to have to solve for r squared here. Okay, so we'll solve for r. Okay, so we'll go fix that. So we have 94.2 equals 1/2. And then here we have 2 pi over 3. And then we have our r squareds here. Well, the 2's cancel. So we have 94.2 is equal to pi over 3 r squared, solving for r squared, multiply by 3, right? That'll cancel. Divide by pi, that'll still cancel. Okay, divide by pi. And we'll have r squared is equal to, and I've got to go figure out what that is. Okay, so that's going to be 94.2, right? Times 3 divided by pi. It's going to be approximately 94 anyway, but we'll be particular about it. Times 3 divided by pi, and we'll say, okay, what's that going to be? That's 89.95. Okay, so we have 89.95 is equal to r squared. So the last thing we have to do is figure out what r is, so we have to take a square root here. Okay, so second function square roots, second function answer, and we'll pop that in there. And we'll get a value of about 9.48. So we'll say 9.48. I think it's in meters. So since I said 1 decimal place, this will be 9.5 meters. Okay, that is equal to my radius. All right. So let's see. I think that does those 3 problems. Okay. So yeah, that's a sector area, and I picked one where it's like it asks you this, that, and the other. It's a three variable equation, uh, so that's pretty normal. Three variable equations are solve this any way you want, but that's a good setting for that. Right. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.